shocking number dropped today. The estimated cost of the government shutdown in Colorado, $1.9 million a day in lost revenue in the outdoor economy alone. If that number seems high to you, it seemed high to us. And when we push back on the source, Democratic Senator Michael Bennet, his team admitted 1.9 mil a day is not accurate. The real number is less than that. Bennet tweeted this claim this afternoon, and it quickly got a lot of traction online. In this same tweet, Bennet called this President Trump's shutdown and said, quote, "This is unacceptable." We asked Bennett's office how they arrived at the figure of $1.9 million a day in lost national parks-related revenue. They acknowledged they just took the Park Service's estimate of visitor spending and then divided it by 365 days. If you've ever been inside one of our national parks, you know that they're often packed in the summer and fall, and they're virtually empty this time of year. So now, this is not an argument for or against the shutdown, and there are other impacts, of course, but just be warned, that estimate from Senator Bennet that is now widely being shared on the internet, that's way on the high side. State legislators are getting started earlier than usual this year, and if you're thinking, hey, why are they doing that? Well, it turns out their old schedule was unconstitutional. Whoops. Here's our Marshall Zellinger.
I state your name.
John Hickenlooper.
When a governor gives his oath of office, you would think he is officially the chief of the state.
I, Bill Ritter, Jr.
But when Bill Ritter took his oath in 2007 and John Hickenlooper in 2011, the state screwed up.
When we passed the resolution setting the date for the General Assembly to convene, nobody had thought about it.
Frank McNulty would become House Speaker on the first day of the 2011 legislative session, which started one day after Hickenlooper was sworn in as governor. But it should have been reversed. The legislature is supposed to meet before the governor is sworn in. Why? The Constitution, which is on display under glass at History Colorado. It's not on the correct page, so we'll have to show you the digital version. Article 5, Section 7. Lawmakers are required to meet no later than the second Wednesday of January, which is the day they usually start. But every 4 years, because of Article 4, Section 1, the governor, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, treasurer, and attorney general need to be sworn in on the second Tuesday of January. And Article 4, Section 3 talks about how the legislature must meet so that the candidates having the highest number of votes cast for governor and lieutenant governor and the person having the highest number of votes for any other office shall be declared duly elected.
Going forward, the chief clerk of the House has now put a memo in the record so that it doesn't happen again.
So if the executive branch takes office before the legislative branch declares them duly elected, you can challenge their decisions, right?
Well, there are lots of things that Hickenlooper did that I would like to challenge, and we have. This isn't a basis for it.
Okay, so why Friday instead of Monday? Man, you are an inquisitive bunch. Long story short, starting Friday helped with the calendar of when bills are due leading up to the first day, and also during the session it helps to avoid weekends for some of the deadlines. It also helps the lawmakers end on a Friday, Kyle, instead of having to go through a weekend and end on Monday if they decide to go the full 120 days.
TLDR, was Hickenlooper still actually the governor?
He was.
Okay, all right, good to know. Thank you, Marshall. In dating terminology, it's called a rebound, but outgoing Colorado Secretary of State Wayne Williams calls it an opportunity to serve the people of Colorado Springs on City Council. Williams is out of office next Tuesday, statewide office. That's because voters elected Democrat Jenna Griswold to replace him. But tonight, Williams will start petitioning to get on the ballot for Colorado Springs City Council. He knows the territory. He was previously elected El Paso County Clerk and a county commissioner. And something tells me that a highly popular Republican statewide elected official isn't going to have trouble coming up with 100 petition signatures. South Metro's merger with Littleton this week creates this mega fire and rescue district covering the south side of town. It's a territory roughly double the size of Denver. The number of people protected by South Metro also basically doubled overnight. So our Anusha Roy looks at how firefighters will cover sometimes unfamiliar ground.
South Metro's keep is now more than 500,000 people since welcoming in the Littleton Fire Department and all the areas they help protect.
That was one of the concerns from their residents is how are the firefighters from South Metro that are working in a Littleton station today going to find their house?
They couldn't do it without technology.
And this is a computer that's linked with all of the other fire trucks and ambulances in South Metro's district, and we have one unit that's on scene and one unit that's responding. The little red dots that are on the screen are locations of fire hydrants hydrants. It's literally every single address point that we have in our fire district, whether it's a house or a business, is on the map.
But don't make the mistake thinking this is a big fire department swallowing up a smaller one.
The legacy of the things they've created certainly won't go away.
South Metro is merging with a department they have learned from for decades. Littleton was among the first to use technology that turns stoplights green in the direction they're traveling and became one of the first fire departments in the country to give firefighters paramedic training. Also, Littleton was the first in Colorado to start using jaws of life to extract people. But over the years, towns that used to be small kept growing and borders started colliding. And now South Metro says it makes sense to combine their ideas, their operations, and their teams. For Next, I'm Anusha Roy.
South Metro's kind of been gobbling up smaller districts recently. It merged with Cunningham Fire last year, but South Metro told us as of today, there are no future merger plans. Last night we talked here about how the real beer versions that are replacing the weak sauce in Colorado's grocery and convenience stores won't necessarily be stronger based on which beer you choose. And one thing that's deceptive is that the old grocery store beer was marked 3.2, we knew it was 3.2 beer. That's a measurement of alcohol by weight. The beer that you buy everywhere else and now in the grocery stores is marked for alcohol by volume. That's the more typical measurement. Couple of viewers, including Bob and Tim in Castle Rock, noticed an error in our report on this last night. So here's what happened. Judd Belstock from Dos Luces Brewery was explaining to us how the ways of measuring alcohol content differ, and Judd just misspoke. And here's the deal. We should have caught this before we sent it home to you, but Judd graciously agreed to come back and make the correction himself.
Yesterday on Next, I misspoke about the science of 3.2 beer. What I said was alcohol is heavier than water. What I meant to say was alcohol is lighter than water. And that is why 3.2 beer by weight is actually 4% alcohol by volume.
Just spoiler alert, if you go during the commercial break and you fill one glass with beer and the other with water, you're not going to be able to tell the difference yourself. Takeaway here is the same as our report from yesterday. If you're trading an old 3.2 grocery store beer for a new beer that's marked 4%, you're getting the same strength. Our thanks to Judd and also to those next viewers, Bob and Tim, for catching that so that we could correct the record here. Subscribers to the Greeley Tribune got a newspaper today. They will not get a newspaper tomorrow. That paper is cutting back to 4 days a week in print. Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The Trib says it will not cut staff and reporters as it cuts its printing costs. We've seen some other papers, including the Grand Junction Daily Sentinel, make some similar moves. And I hope what this means in the end is that there are many more years in existence for Greeley's oldest continuously operating business, as the Trib likes to know. The most important thing, in my view, is that Colorado's smaller media outlets like these newspapers do whatever they need to do to stay in the game, to keep covering day-to-day news that otherwise would be ignored, while all of us together figure out the future of journalism. Time for our shameless ripoff of The More You Know that we call You Should Probably Know This. Know this. Denver's airport is finally starting to make just a trickle of money from that flashy new sign you can't miss on Pena Boulevard. The sign, which was supposed to have been lit by now with cash-generating advertising. A cost-sharing partnership with the sign's maker Panasonic fell apart when the airport learned after the fact that it needed to go get a literal act of Congress in order to slap up ads on a federally regulated road out to the airport. The airport says ads began running, a couple of them back in April, and they think that it will take 7 to 10 years to pay off the cost of the sign in full. The airport tells us it's still looking for a permanent ad sales operator. So far, only a few ads have run, a total of $21,000 in gross revenue in year one. She came all the way from Florida to Colorado with a gift and a message.
It's a bittersweet thing that I'm doing because I'm helping the families, but it's because of something bad.
The story of a rooster rescue group is the first time I've heard that roosters need rescuing.
They're a very abused animal, roosters are. Nobody really cares about them. So, I mean, we're the soft place for them.
And childcare, Colorado style. Next. whole idea of Next is that we want you to hear things and say, right on, that's what I'm thinking. And we also want you to hear things that make you squirm a little bit, make you uncomfortable, perspectives that you might not have considered, but are still thoughtful. And it's okay if you hear things that you don't like, because you're smart enough to decide whether or not you agree with it. Let's consider different perspectives. Let's give you good information so that you can make smart choices. You should expect to see and hear things that you have not seen and heard anywhere else.
Get to know the Johnsons 5 nights a week.
How about I give you $100?
No, 200. And you agree not to have any more children.
Okay, that's a decision I have. No.
A traditional family.
I'm here to help.
You're not Mom.
Where's Mom?
And an unconventional comedy.
I think you look good for your age, Dad.
40's not bad, right?
You're only 40? Good Lord, you've lived a hard life.
Weekdays starting at 5 p.m. on Channel 20.
Latina for me means family.
Being Latino to me means having pride in my heritage.
It means being part of a community where you're never alone.
Being Latina is being strong and independent.
Being Latino is really everything to me.
It's who I am.
Being Latina to me means that I can achieve whatever I want.
What Latina means to me is being bold.
It's being creative, innovative, resourceful.
Being Latina means celebrating life in a unique way.
Jewish Family Service distributes tons of food to the hungry, counsels hundreds of people in pain, employs those with disabilities, provides hope and help to seniors, helps the unemployed get jobs, and assists refugees new to America.
Touching 21,000 people every single year.
JFS does so much, and yet it comes down to you. You have the power to change the world.
Change starts with one courageous person who steps up and speaks out. If you've been wronged or see wrongdoing, email us at blowthewhistle@9news.com.
Parking spaces come in different sizes nowadays. They are labeled. Ignore those labels and the next viewer might say, you've crossed a line. Seth sent us a picture that her husband took last Saturday afternoon at the Stagecoach Saloon. There, Kurt saw a F-150, which decided, well, I'm not compact, but I'm probably two compact cars. Those folks at that watering hole in Franktown seem pretty laid back, so I doubt they were real worried about that. That is kind of funny, though. Come on, how could you not take a picture? Send your photos to next@9news.com or get our attention with the hashtag HeyNext.
It was a cold start to this morning, and we're getting chilly again tonight. I'm glad I'm inside, but 2 our morning low, 8 degrees below for Greeley and 0 for Fort Collins. Even with the cold start, we warmed up into the upper 30s today, and we've got a big warm up for the rest of the week heading into the weekend. Unfortunately, it's also going to be a pretty long dry spell for us. So right now, snowpack across the state is at 97% of average. We still have those below average values for southwest Colorado with no expected mountain snowstorms until Sunday. So those numbers are likely going to go down. If you're tired of the cold, though, you're going to like the forecast coming up. Warming up temperatures include 60s by Friday, and a dry and mild weekend is ahead for us. That storm system that hits the mountains does not have a huge impact on the Denver area. Mostly clear skies tonight. Will drop to 18 for a low. Winds will be out of the southwest and light. Tomorrow, look for a high of 52, then 61 on Friday. Kyle, we're in the 50s through the weekend. At best, we get some clouds from that snow in the mountains here in the Denver area on Sunday, and some cooler, windy weather for Monday afternoon.
We're hoping for best, Becky. Always hoping for best. Thank you. We make a promise to the families of fallen officers that they will not be forgotten. We made that pledge to the family of Adams County Deputy Heath Gum when he was shot and killed in the line of duty last January. Helping us keep that promise today is a young woman all the way from Florida. Here's the story from our Byron Reed.
Hold each position for 6 seconds.
When it comes to creating family memories, 16-year-old Megan O'Grady is happy to give some advice.
Just don't, like,
She's visiting Colorado with her parents from Florida.
Do you know where Fort Myers is?
I do.
We're the town over.
But Megan didn't come here just to see the Rocky Mountains. She's here because of an idea she had about 2 years ago.
After seeing a direct attack on police officers and basically everything that I stand for, I decided I had to do something different. Like, I had to step up and do something for the families.
So she decided to start a nonprofit called Blue Line Bears.
Yes, they are all sewn by hand.
Making teddy bears.
It takes about 1.5 to 2 days.
For the families of fallen officers.
I wanted to give them something that, like, children, moms, dads, like something that was for all ages that they could hold to remember who they've lost.
When we were in communication.
And today, Megan is at the Adams County Sheriff's Substation in Commerce City to deliver 15 bears to the department and the family of Deputy Heath Gum.
I have said all along that this is a family, and this is a family. I wanted to make sure that there was a bear for everybody in the family.
Each bear has the name and number of the officer on the stomach. I can't change what happened to these officers, and I wish I could, but I really can't. So I might as well try to help the families get past what's happening.
Megan wants to give each family something they can hold to remember their loved one.
It means so much to us. Thank you.
With some words of encouragement of her own.
We're all here for each other, and I just want them to know that there are so many people out there for them.
For next,
and that we all genuinely love them.
I'm Byron Reed.
O'Grady's father is a police officer. He sews the bears, or she sews the bears from the uniforms of fallen officers and deputies and then delivers them. At this point, 450 bears that have gone out to 35 states. Front page news out of Colorado that is either a typo or an awesome time traveler. And we will travel together to a sanctuary for misunderstood creatures. Next.
Triceps popping.
Fitness is everything.
I know, my biceps.
To Angela Marquez. She squeezes in a workout every day and always makes time for a gym pic.
Post at PR Fitness Studio,
which is posted to Instagram in no time.
You'll see a lot of workout pictures here.
She isn't showing off.
This was also my cancer anniversary.
She's sharing survival.
I also look at it as I'm alive, because that was 11 years ago that day.
The day Angela learned she had cervical cancer. Doctors removed lymph nodes in her pelvis to save her life.
I survived cancer. I beat cancer, and now I have this.
This is her new battle.
Yes, it is in my left leg.
The left leg is much bigger than the right.
One Olga Belskaya fights too.
It's an ongoing battle.
They both suffer from lymphedema.
It feels heavy.
A debilitating condition.
Oh my goodness.
That lasts a lifetime.
Lymphedema is the abnormal accumulation of protein in the tissues, so the area underneath the skin and above our muscles.
Angela and Olga are treated by Vicki Ralph, a woman who is dedicated to treatment and awareness.
I do about 45 minutes of stretching of the skin.
An occupational therapist at UC Health.
This is short stretch compression bandaging.
Some people are born with lymphedema, but for many, like Olga, the condition is triggered after lymph nodes are surgically removed to treat cancer.
You have kind of, if you will, a mechanical failure of that section of the body.
This chronic condition chips away at her sense of normalcy.
It's full of liquid and your shoes doesn't fit, your clothes doesn't fit, and you just don't want to deal with it anymore.
That's why Angela's Instagram feed,
the Instagram page, is Funky Lymphedema,
has a deeper purpose.
That's my leg.
It informs, it inspires.
We call it the mini incline.
Those who search for answers.
I want to change the image of the pictures maybe that they see when they do Google lymphedema and feel that it's gloom and doom and negative.
You think it's the end. You're not gonna live.
We were in a moment of terror.
It was just a horrible scene.
I turned around and looked at my house, and I realized that I didn't have a house anymore.
Longmont's first baby of the new year is a time traveler. Or it was just a typo on the front page of the Longmont Times-Call. The headline reading, "City's first baby of 2109 born." That is an epic keepsake for that family. And it's also a reminder that all of us in life, whether we work in journalism or not, need lots of good folks catching our mistakes, because we, like that time-traveling baby, are only human. Livestock that start their lives in difficult, inhumane situations are sometimes lucky enough to end up elsewhere in the end. One family in Colorado has been working since 2010 to provide a home for some of those animals. It's a little farm that specializes in rehabilitating cockfighting roosters. This week, though, they rescued hundreds of smaller birds that also needed some help.
We're in Bennett, Colorado at Rooster Sanctuary. This is Benny. He's a rescue from Cheyenne. They're a very abused animal, roosters are. Nobody really cares about them. We're the soft place for them. We have a lot of animals here, about 400 total. And with this new rescue this week, we've added on another 474. Hi. These are Cornish chickens that are raised for meat. There's a farm that's gone bankrupt in LaSalle. They were left with 36,000 chickens and no way to feed them, no way to have them butchered because that costs money, and they're running out of propane to heat the barn. They need to get rid of the birds, and they don't really have a humane way to do it because they don't have the resources for it. So we've stepped in to rescue as many of them as we possibly can.
What got you interested in roosters and rescuing roosters?
My stepfamily has a cattle ranch, and there's a chicken coop that was real shaded and really cool. So I would go in there to hide, just watching the chickens be themselves. And I was 14 at the time when an epiphany hit me when I was watching them, that they were pretty neat, and I didn't want to see them suffer. Oh, I'm actually a healthcare worker. A respiratory therapist.
What are easier to work with, chicken or people?
They're the same. They're the same. I mean, humans and chickens are very different, but I think the level of working with them is very similar. You work with a human patient and you need to get to know where they're at and what they need and all of their intrinsic differences, and it's the same thing with chickens. They're just happy little birds. We can't save them all. We try really hard.
You can learn about what they do at that nonprofit, the Rooster Sanctuary of Colorado, in more depth in the next section of 9news.com. It's a sign that Next viewers are obsessed with toilet humor. You guys send in so much of this stuff, but all right, I'll acknowledge that's pretty good. Next viewer named Terry admits he laughed when he got stuck behind this work van in Evans the other day. The one reading, "We'll show that turd who's boss." Terry's sense of humor is apparently shared by Wagner Services. That's a family-owned plumbing company out of Loveland. Send us the signs that make you smile, even if they shouldn't. Email next@9news.com or give us a shout with the hashtag #HeyNext. An ingenious way to get a little daycare while mom and dad are at the gym. That and your feedback next.
This is how you say, "It's going to be okay," to someone who just lost everything. That yes, we'll find you somewhere to stay. And yes, your children will have breakfast. Every 8 minutes, the American Red Cross responds to a disaster and makes this promise. Help us keep it.
I'm Becky Ditchfield, sharing Colorado's weather stories. 9 News everywhere.
How you doing, sweetheart?
If anyone knows,
there she goes,
the difference between work and duty,
I know you're asking for.
Gene Jiggets has known ever since he met his wife, Mary.
Mary is a keeper.
He kept her through a life of secrets. In 1951, Jiggets was assigned to an elite group of 28 men working on something they called the hydrogen bomb. And now that his work is done, it is time for his duty.
assisting his 93-year-old wife
in entering into dementia,
fighting a disease that's taking her mind.
I said, one thing that I will pledge that I will never do as long as I'm able to assist. I will never put you in a home.
Because she is home.
It's 3 p.m. For 50 million kids across America, school's out. And for a third of these kids, they're out on their own. Out with nowhere to go and nothing to do. But every afternoon is a chance to change America's future. All you have to do is open the door. It's time to support the Boys and Girls Clubs. Great futures start here.
Did you know that 1 in 3 women in the United States experience rape, physical violence, and/or stalking by an intimate partner in their lifetime? This could be your mother, sister, daughter, or best friend. Safe House Denver provides safe shelter and comprehensive services to adults, children, and youth experiencing domestic violence. Visit safehouse-denver.org to learn how to help someone you suspect is experiencing abuse, or to learn about volunteer opportunities, donations, and other ways you can get involved.
The most Colorado thing we saw today is an innovation in childcare spotted at a climbing gym in Lafayette. Next viewer named Eden took this picture. Shh, don't wake the baby. She was talking with the parents of this 6-month-old and says baby slept through it all. Mom and dad were climbing while the baby dangled safely, not far from the floor, just rocking away, very soothing. Very nice. Very smart as well. Thomas in Fort Collins writes in about the fact that we called out Senator Bennett for overstating the economic impact of the government shutdown as it relates to national parks. And Thomas says there's another major component of the shutdown that no one seems to talk about, the impact to government contractors. They will not receive back pay as many government employees have historically. That is a very good point, Thomas. Let's explore that. Let's talk about that. Are you or somebody you know a government contractor who's impacted by the shutdown? Get in touch with us. Email us at next@9news.com or give me a shout with the hashtag HeyNext. We can take it to the DMs. See you next time.